Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Today we're going to be reading chapter 23 of the Crescent Stone. We're well over halfway and moving toward the conclusion. It's quite exciting. I hope your weekend was good. It went well. Just a reminder that this Friday we are going to have author Diva Fagan with us. I need to check on how to pronounce her name. She's the author of Rival Magic, which is great. I was reading this yesterday. You can, I don't want to give away anything from the cover here, but it is a great book. It's really fun. I was thinking I would take a little 20-minute break and read it yesterday, and an hour and a half later, I was almost done with the book. I have like 3 chapters left to go. I think you're going to enjoy it. Anyway, Diva will be with us on Friday, and she's excited. So that should be fun. I see everyone starting to show up and say hello. Caitlin is here. Hi, Caitlin. The Scales family is here. Hi. So excited to hear the next chapter. Sunglasses, smiley face, regular smiley face. Great. Let's see. The Fogarty, Patrick is here. Hello, Patrick. How are you? And the Reeve family is here. We are here, says Grace. I saw a picture, Grace, of your mom surrounded by all her grandkids on Mother's Day. Well, I'm assuming it wasn't on Mother's Day, but it was a picture on Mother's Day. And I was like, that's a good amount of grandkids. Good job, Claudia. Jessica says, smiley face. Hello. And the Sims family is here as well. All right. Dr. Awesome, where are you? Kirk, come on. I know actually that Joanna is probably not here because I accidentally introduced Joanna to a new podcast, and she on my podcast. And then she said she could barely finish my podcast before running over to listen to the other one. So she's probably not joining us. She's off listening to a podcast. But let's go ahead and jump in, and we'll read chapter 23. 23, right? Is that what I said? Okay, the story so far. Madeline Oliver can't breathe. She has a deteriorating lung disease called interstitial lung disease. But a mysterious stranger from another magical land called the Sunlit Lands appears. His name is Hanali, and he says if she will come and work for his people, the Elenil, for 1 human year, that she'll be healed completely. So she and her friend, Jason Wu, go. Now, during their time in the Sunlit Lands, they have discovered a variety of things. One, Jason was almost killed in a battle with these evil bad guys, the Skim. But Madeline was able to heal him at the cost of killing one of the Skim, which she hasn't told Jason yet, but he's about to figure it out. He's putting the pieces together, and she's terrified. The other thing that's happening right now is they've met the head of the Elenil, the Archon, which is essentially their emperor, their king, who is not a nice person at all. But he suggests to them that it's possible that the place they're staying, which is a castle named Westwind, that the knight who's meant to be protecting them maybe isn't protecting them at all. He's also supposed to be protecting these tools that belong to the Skim, magical artifacts. And he says, well, if you can't find those artifacts, maybe he's already traded them away to the Skim because we notice they're not fighting us anymore. So Madeline and her roommate, Shula Bishara, set out into the knight's private area, his bedroom, the Solar, to see if they can find it. And at the end of last chapter on Thursday, they did. They saw the artifacts in a mirror. It's not in the real world on their side, but they can see it in the mirror. Jason is downstairs. They've kind of been saying weird things to him because he has a bad habit of volunteering what's actually going on. So they don't want him to tell anyone that they're sneaking around. And that's where we left off. Let's see. Oh, and Grace says that was Christmas. We missed the whole Reeve Micheladas clan together at Christmas. I know. It's been a long time since we've all been together. And Joanna is here. Hello, says Joanna. I just got here. Joanna, I was just telling everyone you weren't coming because you were listening to some other podcast. Anyway, let's start. Here we go. Chapter 23, The Knight's Secret. She weeps into the fountain. She lingers at her window and sobs to hear the silent streets. from the deserted city a cockray lament. The sword caught Madeline's eye first. Nicked, rusted, and neglected, the sword could have been found in an archaeological dig or at the bottom of the ocean. Worn leather straps wrapped the pommel. A pristine black scabbard worked with gold sat beside it, though it was clear the sword hadn't been cleaned, sharpened, or put into the scabbard in a long time. The silver mask lay next to the sword, almost as reflective as the mirrors. Thick red ribbons spooled from the sides of it, and its empty eyes stared at the ceiling. A robe carefully folded to show off the finery of its design sat in the center of the table. It appeared to be handmade and hand-dyed. It was blue with gold trim, and oxen, eagles, humans, and lions danced up the edges and around the collar. There was a stone, white and smooth, and a thin key. Madeline tried to reach through the glass, but of course she couldn't. "What are you doing?" Startled, Madeline and Shula jumped. A woman stood in the mirror. Her black hair swept out of her face, her olive skin flushed with anger. She wore a rose in her hair, and her white dress, long and beautiful, pressed against the glass where it billowed out from her waist. "You are not to be in this room of west wind," she said. "Nor should you attempt to touch these instruments. They are not yours to handle." Jason stumbled into the room. "There's someone in the mirror," he shouted. "A woman." Madeline pointed to the woman with her eyes. "Oh," Jason said. "I see you've met." "Who are you?" Shula asked. "You break into the Night Solar and demand my name? Who are you, thief?" Madeline stepped forward. "I'm Madeline Oliver. We didn't mean any harm." "We did know we shouldn't be in here, though," Jason added. Not helpful, but true. "I'm Wusong. My name is Shula Bishara." "All of them should have known better." The Knight of the Mirror stood in the doorway. His long black hair hung in thick curls to his shoulders, streaks of gray cascading through them. His nose, obviously broken many times before, drew one's attention more than the piercing brown eyes or the white scars on his brown skin. His wide shoulders filled the doorframe. "Who, me?" Jason asked. "Silence," the knight said. "You can't learn if you don't ask questions," Jason said reasonably. The knight gave him a withering glare, and Jason fell silent. "I have invited you into my home. I have extended protection to you both, and you repay me by violating my privacy. I should send you back to Archon Thenity for this." Madeline gasped. Jason's hands tensed. They would have to run. They might be safe here in the castle, maybe, but she could not go back to the Archon's palace. But where would they go? They might be able to return to Mrs. Raymond, or they could petition to enter the bidding again. Gilenia had offered to take Madeline, more or less. Maybe she could be convinced to take Jason, too, if he could keep his mouth shut long enough for Madeline to ask. The woman in the mirror must have seen the distress written on Madeline's face, because her own face softened, and she said, "He speaks from anger. He would not do such a thing." "Has your anger passed so swiftly?" the knight asked. The knight moved past them and put his palm on the mirror. The woman put her hand on his from the other side. The woman's lips twitched into a gentle smile. "You of all people should know better." "Ah," the knight said, "you use my words against me." "That's not exactly what you said," Jason said, and Madeline elbowed him. The knight turned to them. "This is Fernanda Isabella Flores de Castilla. She is the greatest lady in the Sunlit Lands or any other. Compassionate, kind, generous, even to those who would burst into her chambers uninvited." "Is she your wife?" Madeline asked gently. The knight's lip turned up in a half snarl, then fell neutral again. His eyes narrowed, softened, then closed. One of his gloved hands rose to hide his face. "It is not your place to ask such questions," the knight said. "That story is for those I trust, and them alone. Today," he said, looking pointedly at each of them, "you have lost what trust you had previously earned." "We'll go, Sir Knight," Shula said. "Sir Knight," Fernanda said softly. "Has he not Told you even his name, then? The knight turned his face from hers. They call me the Knight of the Mirror. It is name enough for one such as I. Fernanda dropped her face toward the ground. What I would not give to see you in your glory again. The knight said nothing. Shula looked heartbroken. Although she didn't fight in the knight's company because she was a magic user, she often spoke of her respect for him. It wasn't Shula's idea, Madeline said. Or mine, Jason chimed in. Madeline continued. Archon Thenity implied you might have given the skim back there, well, whatever this stuff is, and that you're going to turn me and Jason over to them also. The easiest way to prove him wrong or right was to find these. The knight pushed his hair back. He sighed heavily. Come then, the three of you. Come close to the table. They moved over to the table, each of them on a side. Fernanda moved to the other side of the mirror, sitting down on the reflection of the bed. Close your eyes, the knight said. Madeline obeyed. When he told them to open their eyes again, the reflected artifacts were now on the table in front of them. Whoa, Jason said. Madeline felt almost lightheaded. It was such a strange thing to see, but then why didn't he allow Fernanda out of the mirror if he could pull these tools out of it so easily? The knight picked up the mask. This is called the Mask of Passing. It is filled with skim magic. He who wears the mask appears to be what others expect. You can see why the Elenil fear it. A skim spy could wear it and walk into the city, Madeline said. He could walk into the palace, the knight said, into Archon Thenity's bedchamber, should he desire. No one would think twice, for the spy would appear to be whatever or whomever made sense. He handed the mask to Madeline. It was shiny on the front side like a mirror, but dark as space on the other. The knight took the mask from her and set it on the table. My lady cannot leave the mirror. Nothing can be taken from my hand, save her. A sadness washed over his face and hers too. You can pull swords out of mirrors, Jason said. That's better than a Las Vegas magic show. Do you do card tricks? Jason, Madeline said, annoyed. When he felt uncomfortable, he made jokes. This was not, however, the time. Why is this sword in such disrepair? Shula asked. Do you want me to clean it? It was such a clear request for forgiveness, it made Madeline wince. Shula wanted to show him she could be a good soldier, to serve him in some way. He ignored her question, though, and instead told them about the skim artifacts. Long ago, the Elenil defeated the skim in a great battle. They had been long at war, and in response to an attack on Farseeing, the Elenil rode down upon the homeland of the skim with great fury. They killed 3 skim for every Elenil who had fallen at Farseeing. When the skim begged for mercy, the Elenil gave it. The terms of peace included taking away any magical items the skim might use in war. These are the most significant of them. In time, the Elenil grew concerned the skim might try to take them back. In fact, the skim have told us more than once they intend to do so. I had been given a certain magical boon which grants me the ability to hold on to anything that is given me. None can take it from my hand unless I allow it. So long as magic reigns in Farseeing, these things cannot be taken from this room without my permission. He paused. This same magic protects you two. How did Shula get kidnapped? Jason asked. She has not been given to me. She was one of your soldiers, though. Jason, hush, Madeline said. No, he's trying to make Shula feel bad for being a good friend and coming in here with you, and at the same time, he doesn't take responsibility for her being kidnapped and gone for weeks while he did nothing about it. She was not my soldier. She was a magic user. You say I did nothing? Nothing but ride into skim territories seeking for sign of her. Who brought her home at last? The knight's face flushed red. You shouldn't have lost her in the first place, Jason shouted. Shula put her hand on his arm. Peace, she said. What happens in a battle is not one man's fault. I almost died trying to keep the skim from taking you, Shula, Jason said. He looked at Madeline. Some people did die, didn't they? Madeline's heart dropped, still beating into her stomach, falling like a star through her body. Blood rushed to fill every square inch of her skin. She wasn't ready for this conversation, not now. No, the knight said, he is not wrong. I did not realize the skim were taking our magic to soldiers until too late. It was a bold move, and one that cost them dearly. If not for the black skulls, they would not have succeeded. They did, however, succeed. That must fall to me, and me alone. He shook his head. Those black skulls. Wherever they have come from, may the majestic one protect us. They fight like old hands, but have the strength of youth. It's good that there are only 3, Shula said. You will find a way to defeat them, Fernanda said. You always have. So far, the knight said. Fernanda stood and moved toward the knight's reflection. It is time to let your anger sink away, she said. The knight closed his eyes. As always, my lady, I do as you wish. He took Shula's hand. Shula Bashara, you must not clean this sword. It too is magic, the sword of years, it is called, or the sword of tears by some, the sword of 10,000 sorrows. He lifted the sword. Rust covered the heavily nicked blade. Some have called it thirsty, for it thirsts for the blood of those who have wronged its master. It is an old blade and a deadly one. It must not be cleaned, nor must it be placed in its scabbard again, for on the day that happens, its magic will be renewed, and it will seek again to kill those who are on its list. So it's a blade of revenge, Shula said quietly. Yes, an old magic in response to ancient wrongs. Some who would feel this blade's bite would not know the origin of its fury. He placed it carefully on the table beside the scabbard. This is why I do not allow you to clean it, not because of any wrong you have done me. We did wrong you, though, Madeline said. We didn't believe in you when Thenity made it sound like you might betray us. Fernanda smiled at her, but it was the pitying smile of an adult knowing there's no way to explain to a child how little they understand. The Elenil are ancient creatures, and they think in craftier paths than we humans. Their thoughts wander in labyrinths, and they rarely reveal their deepest hearts. No doubt the Archon expected you to search here, and expected the knight to learn of it. It may have been a warning, the knight said, or merely a reminder that he watches me. Or perhaps, said the lady, it is because these instruments are safe not only from the skim, but from the Elenil too. Should Archon Thenity ask for one of these tools, who knows what answer he might receive? I know what answer, the knight said. He would not take them from my hand. Thenity wasn't totally wrong then, Jason said this while sitting on the floor tying his shoes. You're not completely loyal to him. I am as loyal as he has given me cause to be, the knight said carefully. Now, peace, children. Leave my chamber. Do not come here again without permission. They said their goodbyes to the lady, who inclined her head to them. Madeline realized with a start that she did not wear gloves, and that her dress was open around the neck. She did not dress like the Elenil. The knight escorted them down the spiraling tower stairs. At the wide wooden door he paused. I fear you will not obey me regarding the festival of the turning, the knight said. We will, Madeline said. I'm not making any promises, Jason said, and Shula pinched his arm. It is a great deal to ask of you to stay in the castle, the knight said. Jason has made his frustrations plain. Just being honest. I will make this agreement with you. You may go to the festival in the day, walk among the people, hear the stories, eat the food. But when the time comes for the fall of dark, you must make all haste back here. Magic will be upended in those hours. Madeline, you will not be able to breathe. Jason, what wounds you had may return. Shula, yours as well. When night has passed, we will see how you have all recovered. I may allow you to attend the celebration of the sun. He paused, looking at each of them in turn. Do you understand? Yes, Madeline said, we understand. We can go to the festival, but we must be home before night falls. Shula, the knight said, bring them here if they disobey me in this. I will, Sir Knight. Keep a special eye upon the fool. Hey! With that, the knight slammed the door shut. They heard the sound of the heavy wooden bar falling into place. That went better than expected, Jason said. Are you kidding? Madeline asked. We got caught. Jason shrugged. I thought we might get killed or thrown in a dungeon. Also, what is that delicious smell? Madeline sniffed the air. Golden pastry? Beef? Onions for sure. Some sort of savory pie, maybe. Jason floated toward the kitchen like a fish on a line. Shula put her hand on Madeline, stopping her. You can't breathe without magic. It is a difficult situation. Shula hugged her. We all take hard roads to come to the sunlit lands. She traced the scar on her own face. If your every breath draws on your magic, though, that is more magic than any Elendil agreement I've ever heard. Madeline didn't know what to say to that. It's keeping me alive. The thought of losing her magic during the festival of the turning made her queasy. Shula took both Madeline's hands in her own. Your bracelet, she said. How far has it spread? Madeline had been trying not to look at it, not to notice. It had helped to cover her mirror. Still, she could almost feel it, like a burning itch from an infection spreading across her body, all the way up my arm and onto my shoulder. It's branching out across my shoulder blades. It'll be on my neck soon, and it's spreading onto my back. Shula's face fell, and a dark look of determination moved across it like a cloud. Your term of service, then. How long was it? A year? Yes. Shula dropped her hands. We still have time, then, she said. Then again, as if reassuring herself, we have time. The end of chapter 23. Okay, a couple more comments here. Milena says, my husband's name is Jason. He always responds to you saying his name. Just had to finally point that out. Haha. Hi, Jason. And Joanna says, someone really should just gag Jason. I mean, not like no one's ever tried in the history of the Sunlit Lands, I'm guessing. Certainly by book 3, by the end of book 3, it's been tried. All right, friends, a couple quick reminders. Don't forget, this very Friday, we'll have Diva Fagan, author of Rival Magic, with us. Middle grade book, so a little younger than some of the others we've looked at, although same as Henry Leon's book, also is middle grade. So Diva will be with us Friday. Don't miss that. As always, Tyndale.com is still taking orders, sending books right now. So if you're trying to find a copy of the Crescent Stone and can't, they have those books there. And you can get the audiobook on oasisaudio.com, narrated by my new friend, Natasha Sudek, who is a professional book narrator. And she's quite gifted, actually. You'll love her. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, whether it's liking and commenting on the post that you're watching right now. However you do it, what happens is it's a big help to me, and it helps other people find this content, which makes them happy because they're bored. They want to connect also. And don't forget to subscribe, whether it's on YouTube at youtube.com/MattMichelatusBooks or on Facebook at facebook.com/MichelatusBooks. Either way, glad to have you subscribing so you can find our content most easily. Let's see. Scales Family says, oh no, Jason makes us laugh. Smiley face. Yes, he makes me laugh too. I laugh out loud sometimes just when I'm writing. That happened. Oh gosh, Friday, Jason did something that I was like, oh no, Jason, why? Caitlin asks, when is the third book coming out? The third book's called The Story King, and it comes out next summer, early summer of 21. So you can be looking out for that. It is due to my publisher, the first draft, on June 1st. So I'm actually headed right now to go right on it and get another chapter done, hopefully today. I'm a little past where we are in Crescent Stone in the writing. I'm at chapter 20, think I'm writing chapter 25 right now of The Story King, and some of the chapters are a bit longer. There's a lot to wrap up. So, all right, my friends, have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. And in the meantime, take care of each other, and